Alright, and here we are in round 1. My opponent has won the die roll and chosen to play first. This hand is perfectly keepable, so I will go ahead and say no to the mulligan. We'll get the game underway. Alright, I pretty much don't want any more land at this point, as I have plenty. Oh, he got one of the divinations I wanted. Since he just drew 2 cards, I think I'm actually going to just pass turn, not play my Minotaur, and be ready to Essence Scatter. A potential beater that you could play at this point. Yeah, I am perfectly fine having done that now. And because now doing it that way, it also stops him from drawing a card, so I think that was the right choice. Since I have no flyers at this point, I do think that cloning his flyer is potentially an option. He missed his land drop, so he could be holding on to something nice, but he could also just be playing his largest creature in hand. My other option at this point is to drop the Cancris, or I could just kill the Messenger Drake. I don't feel like I get much from doing that at this point, so I do think I'm just going to go ahead and clone his Messenger Drake. Well, that's rather unfortunate. Here I do think playing the Water Serpent's just fine. I don't necessarily need to kill his Messenger Drake yet, and the Water Serpent itself is quite the large amount of pressure, so we will go ahead and do that. Once again, that's quite unfortunate, as my opponent seems to just be drawing plenty of cards that are helpful to him. I definitely am going to Essence Scatter that. It's not even much of a question there. Unfortunately, he played it correctly and played it during attack, so he didn't block first. Yeah, I think here I'm fine pumping, as opposed to just playing my Cankris. There's not much point in me playing it right now. I'd rather get the three damage in. So. Well, at this point, I have pretty much no choice but to use my Liturgy of Blood, as I'll be down to 2 life. And here I'll play the Cankris with the mana and swing in for 3. This put me pretty far behind on board, unfortunately. Well, sorry, my board is much more advanced than his, but he has 3 cards in hand and has a much cushier life total than I am. So, with him considering typing to me, he either has a flash creature, so he didn't want to play it. I'm not sure what he would consider playing that he doesn't. I'm still going to leave the Cankris back at this point, as I don't even want to risk losing the life. If he has another enlarge, I guess that's a reason to leave another creature back. But I mean, if he had another enlarge last turn, he would have played it and won, as my hand was empty. Here I have plenty of mana if he decides that he wants to try and find a way to kill my Water Servant. I can just make it a negative power, 7 toughness, so... He either has to... he might have to blow 2 cards here, or he's just wasted the Giant Growth, yeah. Drawing another line is definitely not what I want to do. I will play the island, though, as I may need it for the Water Servant. Alright, we will see what my opponent does here. I mean, I think the proper play is to just attack with everything. He could... the only flash card is the Ski Skite, which he would have already played and beaten me with. And there's no haste in green or blue, so I think the proper thing is to attack with everything here. And he has F6, so I believe that means I win this game. Yep, alright, and now we're on to sideboarding. Against him, I definitely think Negate is going to be worthwhile, as he played a couple of enchantments as well as a divination, and Enlarge, all 3 of which are good to have a Negate for. Grim Return would be of questionable use against him, I'm thinking. Especially if I'm planning to use counters. Yeah, of my options, I think I want to take out Grim Return. He's basically, he'd have to be in chump blocking at that point. Grim Return's just to win more cards, so I don't need it. He's chosen to play first again. Since I'm on the draw, I'm okay with this hand. Has both my colors. I have an early negate if necessary to stop divination if he wants to play that early. I just need to hope here that he, or that I draw some more land. It'd be awkward if I didn't. I'm not sure why he would do that. I mean, I guess I could have negated that, but it's just a cantrip, so there's real little gain in me doing that. I think he quickened to hopefully draw a land. So the question here is, do I think he has a divination that's worth countering, or should I play my Scroll Thief? And I do think I want to play my Scroll Thief here, as that'll force him to leave back his Sea Coast Strike unless he wants to chump block with his Mana Web Sliver. Here, I think the best card for me to draw would be Time Ebb. I do think putting the Water Servant in play is probably my best choice, as it's just a very hard to deal with card. Alright, at this point I'm really hoping just to draw into some mana. There's not much point in me playing the Undead Minotaur at this point, so I'm not going to. Alright, here I think the right play is just to steal his Messenger Drake. I mean, there'd be some argument for stealing his Giant Spider, but I know he has at least 2 Messenger Drakes, so by stealing that, if he plays another one, I can just block. It's interesting that he would do that during his turn, because he could just have pumped mine, or pumped this Messenger Drake to have the domestication fall off. And I don't think getting through for 3 damage is that much of a gain for him. Here, I do think playing the Warden's the right choice. Well, I'm not actually sure now I think about it. I know that he has Enlarge in his deck, and that could be potentially why he would play the way he played there. Although that is bigger than most of my creatures, so I think I am going to play the Warden of Evos Isle, and just hope that he does not have the Enlarge in his hand. Or if he does, he decides to wait. As of right now, it wouldn't be lethal. There, he misplayed it. He waited until my end step as opposed to waiting for, or doing it during my main phase, since it's a trigger ability at the beginning of my end step. And here, if he attacks with the Briar Pack, I will probably just trade. Although now I don't necessarily think that's the choice. And this makes me inclined to think that he does not have Enlarge. As he would have played it here, as it would have been very difficult for me to do anything against it. So I do think I want to trade, as that does not make, I don't have to worry about losing this creature. Next turn I can play a Singer Vampire anyway, so I'm not as concerned. My other option here is to Liturgy of Blood his Messenger Drake and playing on a Minotaur. I don't think that's the right play, as right now that gives him the card, which gives him another chance to draw Enlarge, which at this point Enlarge would just kill me. Whereas if I play the Singer Vampire, it won't kill me. Here he's clearly showing that he probably has another Giant Growth in hand, and for that reason I'm going to just block here. I don't want to block the Messenger Drake at the moment. He can choose to use Giant Growth to kill my Warden, or pump me at 2, but I can also just, next turn, leave up Negate. Which I think is the best choice here. As this will let me blow him out when he decides to attack again with those both here. So he needs to have another Giant Growth at this point, or he has his own counterspell. There is that option as well. Alright, well this definitely means it gets Liturgy of Blood this next turn. And then here I think the Warlord is the best choice, as I can definitely start attacking with that. And there's the game. Yeah, it's just enough for me to lose there. I could have perhaps played it differently and let my Singer Vampire die to the Giant Growth earlier and not taking 3 damage, at which point I wouldn't have been dead there. But I don't know if that's the right choice. I'm not sure if there's anything I want to change here. I am on the play, so I could, in theory, play Spell Blast and have it be slightly less terrible, but I don't think I want to. So I think I will just submit as is, and I will play first. And this is a perfectly keepable hand. If I get to Mark of the Vampire, my Scroll Thief, I think I'll be in a decent position. And if he tries to play a turn 2 mana with Silver, I will definitely be Essence Scattering that, as I don't need him having all that mana available. Yeah, I definitely think that's the right play here. I mean, so far it seems like he might be running a 16 land or 15 land deck, as he's just not drawn that many lands, so I am perfectly comfortable doing that. So there's some argument to play Domestication on his Deadly Repose. He has a bunch of flyers, so it would eventually trade off. I mean, also obviously has a bunch of pump spells too. So it's an interesting question of what would be the best choice there. If depending on what he plays here, if I did that, it would also allow me to get in with a Scroll Thief, which can be quite helpful. So I mean, that's a real consideration here, especially since it's effectively I have to kill one of my creatures to do it, and it kills any of my flyers. I do think I actually am going to go ahead and domesticate it. And if he wants to use Pump Spell to get that back, that's fine. Essentially, then we've traded 1 for 1. Interesting choice time of your own creature there. Not that I necessarily think it's the worst choice in the world for him, but it just is an interesting choice. I think playing the Water Serpent's fine. I think it's probably the better of options, as it puts a lot more pressure on him. So I think here I just want to play the Vampire Warlord, as that will be able to get through the Deadly Recluse. If he doesn't have a counterspell for it, that is. Yeah, unfortunately, this game's not going much of anywhere. Next turn, I'll probably clone my Water Servant, unless he plays something phenomenal. It's interesting that he would Claustrophobia that when he has the Deadly Recluse out. I do want to keep my creatures around. I don't want him having an answer to everything, although he could have another negate, which he didn't. So we have some interesting options here. I mean, I could play Mark of the Vampire on my Warden, attack through. At that point, I'll just leave his Deadly Recluse untapped. I don't think there's anything worth cloning at this point. I do want to clone. I think I'd want to clone my Water Servant, but with the Deadly Recluse right there, I'm not sure how useful it is. I do think I'm actually going to go ahead and clone my Water Servant at this point, as that will allow me to play Mark of the Vampire on my Warden later if necessary. I probably should have considered trading with the Recluse last turn when he was in the position he was. This one seems fairly easy. I'm just going to Liturgy of Blood his Deadly Recluse at this point. And then I think playing that on that is the best choice. And we're off to the races. We'll see if he has a sorcery speed. He could have a time ebb or something like that, which would be unfortunate, but and we'll swing again. So if he has the Briarpack Alpha, I can't pump myself too high, and that's probably what he's hoping that I do. As at that point, he'd be able to trade. So I think I will, just to be on the safe side, just pump the once. As that gives me quite the leeway, even if he has a giant growth or something like that, because I know he has multiple giant growths, so... and I might as well play my Tenacious Dead at this point, no reason not to. Alright, I would definitely say call that breaching pretty badly. We need to howl for 2 tokens. And here he has he's tapped out, so there's no reason not to pump as much as I can to gain the life. I figure 38 is going to be very difficult for him to deal that much damage. He could have Giant Growth in his hand, so I need to be aware of that as I attack here. I will go ahead and pump just the once. If he wants a Giant Growth, I will then obviously then just pump my Toughness. And then I'll go ahead and play my Cancrus. So I would say it's looking rather grim for my opponent at this point. I probably should have played the Swamp in case he finds a way to kill my Tenacious Dead, but the 1/1's probably not the most important thing right now. Here, there's a little reason not to attack the Tenacious Dead. He's going to attack with the Cancrus as well. If he wants to block the Tenacious Dead and make me pay 2 mana, I'm happy to pay it. And once again, I will just pump just the once. Although if he has Giant Growth at this point, I have enough mana that I will pump twice, and I'll be plenty out of range. And I see no reason to want to trade them at this point. So I think my creature's much more valuable at this point. He's in top deck mode, and I have a very commanding board. All right. And there's the match. We will see you in round 2.